So our next speakers, Steve McBee and Carson Roncketto, have done this very thing with their business. They decided to turn their business completely inside out, disrupted the entire enterprise, and they're going to walk with you through that journey and tell you what they learned about it. So Steve and Carson.
Carson.
Good with that? Okay. Good morning. How many of you have ever woken up and just realized that you were unfulfilled, not enjoying the work that you were doing, didn't want to be there anymore? No one in this room? No one? All right, I see some hands. I see some hands.
Well, about 3 years ago, that was me. And it wasn't that I walked into creative one day and I wasn't happy, or over a week period of time. It really went on for a long, long period of time. So,
we're going to trade out your mics.
oh, thank you. You guys there? All right, so back on track. So, I was unhappy, but at the same time, our business was very profitable. There were segments of our business that were growing, and it looked great from the outside, but internally, some things weren't working. And as I reflected on that, I started thinking about what was causing this unhappiness for me. Well, one, our industry was changing, and I wasn't prepared for it. That bothered me. That stressed me out. Two, this quote that a local business leader said all the time kept popping into my head. Hubris is the sign of an impending train wreck. I was that impending train wreck. I had basically the self-confidence that was leading creative down the wrong path. And then when I accepted that, decided deep down inside, I just recognized that I'd pretty much lost control of my company. The company model and culture were completely out of order. So I needed to make some change. So a little bit about me, probably not what you expected. I'm an adventure junkie. So you'll see me paragliding in the jungles of Colombia, kayaking waterfalls in Patagonia, or running the Hard Rock 100 out in Colorado. I love a good challenge. What you don't see in these images is that I never go on a great adventure alone. I always have a great partner with me. I always have a great team with me. I have people that I trust my life to. They put their lives in my hand. So why wasn't I doing this at work? Why did I become complacent with this traditional, what had become archaic small business model that was quickly dying? Why was I working with a team of good people, but we just weren't aligned in the direction that we were going? For me, it was time for a new adventure. It was time to build a business that I loved, that I wanted to work in every day. And at the same time, there was this beautiful renaissance happening in our community. Northwest Arkansas had become a world-class retail and supply chain hub, an outdoor adventure destination, especially for mountain biking, right up my alley. $5 billion, yeah, don't look at that number wrong, has been invested into education, arts, and culture in this very small community. So being in the middle of this renaissance was very inspiring. So it was time to take action, build a new agency, model for creative, but I didn't want to do it solo. I'd tried this several times before and failed miserably. I'm a slow learner, but I realized that eventually it was time to pick the right type of partner. So who's that partner? This is actually a real picture. We did not pull this out of an art history book. So I needed to find the truth teller. So that person, for me, was someone that wanted to go on an adventure with me. Someone that was confident in me. I was comfortable with them. Candid about problems, open about issues, and deliver solutions. Wanted to find somebody that was outside of our industry, so they had fresh eyes, unbiased, a modern perspective. And bottom line is that we had to share the same basic principles and core beliefs, just 101. So through strategically searching and tapping into my trusted resources, I found Carson, the truth teller. So, question, how do you onboard a truth teller? Probably, I had not really thought about that, but the timing was right. So Carson came on board, and instead of the traditional industry, oh, here's your introduction to PPAI education and ASI and all of these other resources. Now, 2 weeks in, I take Carson on a field trip to skucamp Palm Springs. Well, coming out of skucamp Palm Springs, where she learned about things like it's okay to be on the stage with unicorns on your shorts. Danny, if you were there, you would know that the unicorns were fornicating on Danny Rosen's shorts. So once we got back from skucamp, I think the path was clear. We were very inspired, and it was time to change everything.
Yeah, it was definitely after that experience that the true renaissance of creative began. And when we say change everything, we actually mean change everything, which might sound insane, and sometimes it felt insane. But we knew that we had to do more than simply rebrand our company. We knew that we had to make some radical changes inside and out. So we started with the model. We had a model that was severely outdated. We had people who no longer fit, a customer mix that no longer made sense for us, and a space that was completely uninspiring, also outdated, and a brand that just simply didn't fit the vision of where we were going as a company. And did I mention that we changed everything? And when you change everything, you unfortunately don't have the luxury of having a playbook for changing everything. So we knew that we were going to have to dismantle a plane and continue to fly it as we rebuilt it.
Yeah, and as you probably know, there's no playbook for dismantling a plane while you fly it. Trying to keep the business intact and functioning and supporting while disrupting everything and going on to a new business is really difficult. So Carson and I focused on some fundamental ways of working. One was vulnerability and trust. Really kind of started with me because I'm carrying 20 years of baggage into this relationship and this project, and I had to check that at the door. Second part of that is finding trusted partners, people that be seeking knowledge and insight and ask for help from your peers. After all, that's kind of why we're here today. The other big part of that is understand that everything is a risk, that you're going to have to be comfortable with deconstructing the plane, and it could go into a spiral dive at any moment. So, of course, fundamentally, shouldn't start deconstructing the plane unless you have core values in place. We had to develop a very clearly defined set of core values before we began the process. So the first thing that we attacked was the business model. It was messed up. It was really messed up. So, hey, instead of fighting the old, we wanted to just focus on building the new. Some of the issues that we had with the business model, just kind of basic. We had evolved into two businesses under two roofs, only separated by a parking lot. And strangely enough, it became two different workforces, two different cultures, and almost two different sets of values, and the problem with that as the leader of the company is that I thought, and this is my ego, that at any time at a company meeting on a monthly basis, we could just pull it all in together. I could snap my fingers and it would all be one again. It didn't happen that way. So we were definitely no longer in harmony with our brand, ourselves, or our clients. It worked really well for the first 20 years, but it was pretty clear that we weren't going to survive the next 2 or 3. So our goal was pretty simple. Let's take these multiple complex dying models and just create something very simple and a single business model. I think we needed one company, one culture, and one set of core values to live by. And so first thing that we did was close the manufacturing side of our business. That, for me, was tough because I had 20 years of history with that part of the business, ground up. But the nice thing about it was it freed us up mentally, physically, and financially, and gave us the capacity to really move forward quickly with the rest of our project to get towards this goal of recreating our business. Second, well, we decommoditized our distributor model and strategically set up a collaborative model and team structure that would support the clients of our future. This is basically, don't look at this as an org chart, but more of a kind of the ecosystem within which we work every day. So our business evolved into essentially a collaborative, design-focused agency model, which created this team environment that was healthy for us and also healthy and directed us towards the right clients of the future.
So the changes to our model necessitated a new tech stack so that we could work more efficiently, so that we could work faster as a team. We needed our design team and our sales team to be able to quickly meet client needs. I'm sure you're familiar with most of these systems. Shout out Common SKU. But they've been instrumental in really helping us to come together and work as a collaborative team. One that you may not be familiar with that's been incredible for us is Fathom. Fathom plugs into QuickBooks. It's a financial dashboard system that even if you failed college algebra twice, you can still interpret financial data. So if you're anything like me, I encourage you to check it out. People. Thinking about you, Kate Ivory. Of all the areas that we disrupted as a company, people was the single most challenging component of our disruption. Annie Dillard, who is actually from Pittsburgh, said that how we spend our days is, of course, how we spend our lives. And so for us, I think getting the people piece for creative was just critical. We had to make sure we had the right people in the right seats, and we had to make sure that it was a team that we genuinely enjoyed coming to work with every day. As the company had changed, as our mission and vision had evolved, we had to just be honestly very brutally honest about if the team that we had that had served creative well for years was the team that we were going to take with us towards that new vision. So how did we do that? We actually heard about the book Traction. Has anybody read Traction? Well, some of you.
Right.
We heard about Traction on a skucast a couple of years ago, and while we used a lot of tools and read a lot of books and used a lot of other resources during this renaissance of our company, there were some tools that really helped us to analyze our team in a way that helped us to move forward. So this is the People Analyzer tool. It's a pretty simple tool. This is an actual real example of a few of the team members that we evaluated during this time. And it's broken into two parts with the intent to make sure that you have the right people in the right seat for your company. So part one of the analyzer is an evaluation of your team against the core values of your company. So you set a bar, you'll see the bar down towards the bottom. Very simple plus, plus, minus, and minus system. So a plus would indicate that the employee is living that value all of the time at your company. Plus minus would be maybe they're doing it some of the time, but not all of the time, and minus is obviously they're falling short. So we wanted to evaluate everybody against those values. And the second part of the tool is known as the GWC method. We use the term GWC in our office all the time. So it stands for gets it, wants it, has the capacity for it. So what does it mean to get it and want it and have that capacity? We had to make sure that whatever seat, even if we had someone that was the right person, aligned with our values, if they weren't in the right seat with our company, we had to make sure that we were addressing that. So getting it means that they simply truly understand the role that they're in. They get the systems that are needed for the role. They understand the pace of the company and the position. To want it is as simple as, do they want to be there? Do they enjoy the position? And then having the capacity for it is, do they have the physical, mental, and do they have the time, the emotional capacity to do the job and to do the job well? We had to make sure that we had people who were fully aligned on the GWC, because when it comes to that portion of the People Analyzer, it's a yes or a no. They either get it or they don't. They want it or they don't. So we knew that we were going to have to make some really tough decisions as we went through that process.
Yeah, and this was also a point where the truth teller and I kind of tested whether we were still on the right adventure together. We were very much aligned with the GWC results, so and had the right people in the right seats. So we immediately applied the results of the of the analyzer and right-sized our teams. First, we invited the employees that no longer aligned with our business model to their future elsewhere with dignity and respect. And as you all know, that's a really hard move. Second, we put the right people in the right seats of the new creative. The first big test of the People Analyzer was transitioning the team from the old creative model and mindset to the new creative model and mindset. That took a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of nurturing, a lot of support, answering a lot of questions, as you can imagine. It was a model of truth, trust, and time. It took several months before we really saw this kick in and was absorbed organically by our team. And what you see up here is an example of that. Through our Slack channel, our team members are giving each other kudos based on our values. It's kind of a peer-to-peer recognition system that we've set up.
So I mentioned that it was hard. It was uncomfortable, it was scary. It often, to me, as we went through it, it felt cold at times. So here's what we learned after we went through that process, and it's some things that if we were going to go back and do it again, that we would do differently. The first thing is there's no doubt that we would move faster than we did. We played it safe in some cases. We moved more slowly. We said yes to some team members that we should have said no to out of the fear of losing that institutional knowledge that some team members hold. The second thing is we would trust the GWC fully. I will never doubt that piece ever again. There are no maybes when it comes to getting it, wanting it, and having the capacity for it. What we discovered is that no matter how hard you train and no matter how much you want it, or even if they want it as a team member, you're not going to increase someone's capacity for it. And there's a real cost, very real cost, to saying yes to that person when you should have said no. And then lastly, just live your values. So, for a long time, we had a set of company core values that sat in Google Drive somewhere that we talked about occasionally in team meetings. But once we started incorporating that into our environment, they're on our walls, they're regularly discussed in one-on-ones, they're obviously in the Slack channel. It was really transformative for our team. So just making sure you're incorporating those was amazing for us.
And so now we're on to the customer. So we've just right-sized our clients, so we've just right-sized our people, and now it's time to right-size our clients. And I think Craig talked a lot about this in his presentation and how to do that. And traditionally, we did it by the simple KPI measures, profit and revenue, and several other things. But that wasn't enough for the rebalancing to fit our book of business and where we were in our new business model. There were really too many traditional problems, like too many commoditized customers, customers that were just one-time transactions of low to no profit. Customers that we had a 20-year relationship with, and we just couldn't say no. We were just that yes company for everything that they asked for. So in order to serve the clients of the future, this new model, we had to come up with a new way of analyzing the clients. And Carson came up with a great solution. Very comfortable solution.
Yeah, look familiar? So this is how we evaluate our clients. It's called the Client Analyzer, and it's obviously just a modified version of our People Analyzer. So I'm sure that everybody in the room is looking at their client lists, regularly, probably quarterly, based on revenue and profit. We felt like, based on our new model, that it was important for us to also assess clients against our core values as a company and the vision of the company. So this is another very real example of some of Creative's clients at the time that we did this analysis. And as you can see, we did revenue and profit by percent, and you'll see that we definitely had some top clients that were falling short.
Yeah, so immediately after applying that, we fired 2 of our top 20 clients. One was top 5, but they were also number 1 in the number of transactions that took place. Thousands of transactions, thousands of tiny little cuts by the razor. So we were just about to bleed out. True story, about a month ago, they reached out to another company that I'm a co-owner with and said, hey, can you take care of this project for me? It was the same project that we let go, the reason we let go of them over a year ago. If anybody wants it, raise your hand, I'll send it your direction. I would never do that to you. And then another top 20 client, we had to fire them because their values were not aligned with our values. And it was to keep them on board, even though there was high revenue and high profit, would have been very disruptive to our team.
Scared to hit it again. There we go. The space. So as we had made the changes, we had, right-sized our team, we had right-sized our client list, we knew that we had to go from function to inspiration in our space. And to fully embrace the new vision for creative, we needed a fresh start. We had to leave where we were and get that fresh start so that we could move forward. And it had to be a place where our team and our clients genuinely wanted to come together and spend time together.
So who wouldn't be disenchanted with this space? Shake shingles were cool back in the 80s. 20 years this place served us well, but it became a place where our customers no longer wanted to come and visit us, and I no longer wanted to step in the door. So it was really clear that we had to move fast on a small budget because we just fired a ton of clients. And I think we were very fortunate to find a new space in what is kind of the heart of the renaissance of our community in this arts and entertainment corridor that is, it's a big space. We have room for growth. It has a collaborative floor plan. It's modern. There's just a ton of energy. And I'll tell you, every day when I walk up the steps and just put my hand on the door, it's like this buzz of energy. I cannot wait to enter that room.
It's about more than just having a cool space, as I'm sure you all know. Our space now serves as an incubator for idea sharing between our clients and our team. One of the most amazing things we saw almost immediately was a significant uptick in just our client meetings without really even having to try for it. So we were pumped about that. We started hosting community events at our space. We have regular client happy hours. When it lapses too long, they'll start asking us when the next happy hour is. That's a good sign. It's sort of our version, I guess, of an end user show. But it's really a time to just hang out and build relationships with our clients. And if they want to hang out in the showroom because they think it's cool, then that's great too. But it's been a really informal way to build those relationships up. And really, ultimately, we just created a space that better met the needs of who our team is today and the types of clients that we're serving today, and adapted our physical space to our digital space to better reflect the way that we work in 2019. And the brand. We were disrupting and changing everything, so we would have been crazy to think that we were not also going to have to put the work into changing the creative brand. And changing the brand was going to have to be a lot more than just changing a logo. We knew that we had to change everything about our brand, the brand that we'd had for 20 years. There she is. There's some examples of the old creative brand. We had to overhaul every component of that brand, every touch point, because we needed to fully sever the identity of 20-year identity of Creative's past and reflect our current model. So how did we do that?
Well, this is another one of those moments where we had to check our ego at the door and accept the fact that this is not our area of expertise. So we brought in a marketing strategist that was kind of vetted this person like they were the truth teller of marketing for us. And it worked out really well. Again, unbiased outside perspective, and they led us into this really deep process of evaluating everything so that we could get it right. You can see some of that process up here, but the end result of this was the name Creative, we found, had worth because of the brand equity. There was brand equity with the people and on our team, and also for the client base that we had. So we weren't going to change that, but we changed everything else.
Yeah, everything else had to go. So here's how it came together. This is the visual identity of creative today. And just like we started with talking about our core values as a company and how that influenced all the decisions we made, it had just as much of an impact on the development of our brand. So we worked to develop an identity that was modern and fun, but also approachable. And that also had to be reflected in how the messaging comes together. So this is part of our website where we talk about what we do, but we wanted to be sure that that visual identity was consistent across the messaging and in marketing campaigns, our web presence, our social media presence, and as important as any of that is, and how we and our team talk about what we do at Creative with our clients. Then we had to ask ourselves, you know, we've made all these investments and all these changes, and we've completely deconstructed our brand and rebuilt it. How did we know it was working? Positive client feedback was the first indicator, and that came to us pretty quickly once we rolled out the new brand. It's funny because oftentimes prospects think that we're a startup company, and we're okay with that. We're completely okay with that. But the two best things that came out of the rebranding portion of this was really our internal culture shifted unintentionally. We had a team who was more passionate about what they were doing. They were more engaged. And all of a sudden, we got this very natural attraction with the right types of clients for who we are today.
So we started without a playbook, and we thought we'd share with you the playbook that we didn't have. So there's three key takeaways from this, I think, that had probably the most impact on our company that we've talked about. One, if you're going to go on this adventure, I recommend that you don't do it solo. Find your truth teller. This is not an easy task, and you may not get it right the first time, but don't be discouraged if you don't get it right. You will find that person if you seek them out. Two, get clear on your values. Start with your values when you bring on that truth teller. Make sure that it's understood and then live by that through the entire process. And then three, analyze your people. You've got to have the right people in the right seats, and they've got to get it, want it, and have the capacity to do it. So I will tell you where we are now. You think that everything is like awesome, right? Well, it is pretty awesome. I'm happy going to work every day. I love what I do. You know, it's exciting for me. I know I've done the right thing when I wake up and I've got to make a decision. It's a choice between going paragliding or going to work. And I go to work because I want to be there with those clients and those people and that team. It's awesome. And I think the other thing that has come out of this for me is that I've gone from the learned to back to becoming a learner. And I hope that all of you are in the learning mode, and if there's anything that I can share with you or Carson can share with you about this process, or you want to dive in deeper on this, we're here for you. So thank you.
Thanks.